Hi, I'm Yvonne with Fearless and Fabulous. This is episode 5 in our 10-episode series on indie publishing. And today is about a very exciting part of the publishing process, book design. Welcome. Thank you for being fearlessly, fabulously you. We'll also talk about what makes a great title and subtitle, how to create eye-catching covers, tips for interior formatting, and where to find tools and vendors to make your book look professional and sell well. Your title and subtitle are your book's handshake, the very first impression readers get. A strong title grabs attention, and a great subtitle tells readers exactly what they'll get. Use keywords that relate to your book's theme or genre. A title should also create curiosity, and it should surprise the reader. For instance, when I wrote Goddesses Don't Diet, I wanted people to think, what does that mean, goddesses don't diet? Well, it makes sense. Why would a goddess have to diet? And then I followed it with the subtitle, because then you need to tell readers, if you've piqued curiosity in their mind, then you need to satisfy that curiosity with the subtitle. Don't make them wonder what your book is about. So the book is called Goddesses Don't Diet, and the subtitle is The Girlfriend's Guide to Intermittent Fasting. I wanted my readers to know that this was going to be a layperson's way of describing intermittent fasting, which can be a very complex, scientifically based, and medically sound way of creating optimum health. But I wanted them to know I was going to boil it down to the nitty-gritty, what they needed to know, the girlfriend's guide to intermittent fasting. Now, if you're writing fiction, a subtitle is far less important. But there are other important parts that we will discuss, both for fiction and nonfiction, that are part of your book design. Your book's cover is so important. You don't want it to be cluttered. You also want to make sure that if a reader were to look at that book cover, they would immediately understand what type of book it is. So if you're writing, for instance, a cozy mystery, you do not want to have blood dripping down that you would see on maybe a thriller type book. So the idea is to go to Amazon, which is the biggest book marketplace there is, look at your genre and see what types of covers are being used in that genre. And you don't want to be too far afield from that look, because you want your readers to immediately know when they see that book cover what this book is kind of going to be like. Bright and contrasting colors stand out. When you're on Amazon, it's very hard to get your book to stand out. People will see a sea of book covers, and you want your book to stand out. However, you do not want it to stand out in the wrong way. So you want to make sure, as I said, that your book cover looks like what the reader is expecting in that type of book. I'm going to show you the front and back cover of a book that was designed for me. So this is my book, Goddesses Stay Sexy. And I worked with the designer to come up with a sexy looking woman who's sappy and modern looking. And then that designer had the brilliant idea to put on the back of the book a brassiere. And it really made this book. I'm so pleased with how that turned out. So don't ignore the design of the back of your book as well. And we're going to talk about the importance of what goes on the back of your book in just a little bit. The blurb. The blurb can also be known as your description, or it could be a testimonial. So you will see, if you pick up any book you have, flip it over and look at the back of that book and then read it. That is something one of the first things your reader is going to look at if they pick it up at a bookstore, or even if they're looking at it online. They're going to want to know what someone else is saying about that book, or they're going to want a quick summary of what that book is going to be about. So here's the blurb that was on the back of my book, Goddesses Stay Sexy. The Girlfriend's Guide, there's a subtitle, The Girlfriend's Guide to Dating, Relationships, and Sex After 50. The book blurb, which is the description for the book, reads, "Our sexuality is our birthright, a source of power that only increases as we age. Learning to harness that power is the path of the goddess." And then there are a bulleted list: walk into any room and own it, flirt with ease, date with confidence, create a sizzling love life your younger self could only dream of. Then I have 2 testimonials from authors that I admire. One of them is from 𝗦𝗃𝗍𝗏, who wrote, the author of Flow, 21 Dating Secrets. She wrote, "Engaging and powerful, Goddesses Stay Sexy is a reminder that it's never too late to believe in love and that our relationship with ourselves is the most crucial one to cultivate." And then Cindy 𝗕𝗏, who is a coach and speaker and a bliss mentor, wrote, "A resource that's long overdue, an insightful take on the nuances of dating and maintaining healthy, sexy relationships at any age, especially when women have given up. This author's wit and storytelling make it a really delightful read." Then at the bottom I have, "You are a goddess, claim your power." So this was a fantastic back cover for a book. And so that's what you want to go for. You want to go for only the creme de la creme to talk about your book. You want great testimonials. You want a brief blurb that incites interest but doesn't give away everything, right? Because why would they read the book then? And I also want to talk about front and back matter within the book itself. We'll talk about that shortly. The interior of your book is where all of the words belong. And you're going to want to pay attention to the font you choose. You want it to be readable. The margins, super important. When a book is bound, the margins are going to need to be much wider at that middle edge than they are at the end, right? Because it needs room for the binding. And then you're going to want to pay attention to chapter headings and make sure that they're consistent. Interior formatting is what you see when you open the book. So the typography, the chapter headings, the margins, those are all things that you're going to want to pay attention to and ensure that you're following standard processes. For instance, an ebook, you'll want to have a clickable table of contents. If you have a print version of a fiction book, you do not need a table of contents. Sometimes fiction authors will do that, but it's not necessary. However, if you have a nonfiction book, you're going to want a table of contents. And if you have an ebook of either variety, you're going to want to have a clickable table of contents. Now, let's talk about front matter and back matter. These are 2 items that matter, and they will definitely help up-level the professionalism of your book if done right, and they will make you stand out like an amateur if done wrong. So let's see what these are. Front matter appears at the beginning of your book, and it sets the tone while providing some essential information. It includes your title page, which has your book title and your subtitle on it if you're using a subtitle, and your author name. That's all you need on your title page. Then it has your copyright page, which has legal information, your publication date, your ISBN, any disclaimers you need, and credits. If, for instance, you may want to credit the book design author. And then it'll have also at the front matter your dedication, which is optional. This can be either a personal note to someone or it can be a complete departure from that. So in my nonfiction Goddesses Don't Diet book, I wanted the dedication to sort of stand out. I did not want to dedicate it to an individual. I wanted it to be a note to the diet industry. My book, Goddesses Don't Diet, is really a scathing indictment of among other things, it's a scathing indictment of the diet industry and how it preys on us for monetary reasons. So let me read you the dedication in that book. To the captains of commerce in the weight loss industry who see our desperation and desire as dollar signs, who build their wealth at the expense of our health, up yours. Now that's a very non-traditional dedication, and you can do a dedication any way you want. It does not have to be to my darling spouse who supported me through all these years, whatever. People read the dedication, and so make it count. Back matter comes at the end of your book, and it encourages your readers to take next steps. Your back matter may include your acknowledgments, thanking people who helped you with the book, and about the author section, which is a short bio that helps connect you with your readership. A call to action, which is where you might ask the readers to review your book or visit your website or join your mailing list. You could also have a bibliography of your other books, a list of resources, a list for further reading, and then you could also have a sneak peek of your, like maybe the first chapter of your next book if you've got a fiction series. This is just a great place to build your reader relationships. You do not have to be a designer in order to create a good cover for your book. There's some wonderful tools out there. Canva is one, Reedsy is another one, and then BookBrush. I used Canva to develop the cover for one of my very good selling short books. Here's a look at that now. And if you don't have design skills like I don't, you may want to pay a professional cover designer. This doesn't have to cost an arm and a leg. Here are 3 options for cover designs. Now I want to talk about that last one, 99 designs, because that is the approach I took for 9 out of 10 of my books. So they have this wonderful contest that you can create in 99 designs where you describe your project and then you ask designers to bid on creating a design for that project. And the way they bid on it is not through money, because that money is established up front, but it's through their designs. So they will submit their designs to you, and then you can work with them over a period of time. You set that period of time, it's usually 7 to 14 days, where they send you their designs and you give them feedback so that they can improve that design and get them closer to your vision of what you want it to look like. And then in the end, you select a designer. There are a couple of ways to do this. You can do it where you don't guarantee a payment, meaning if you don't like any of the designs, you don't have to pick one. Or you can guarantee that you will select somebody from the list. I go that route every time. And the reason is you just get better designs, because who's going to want to submit a design to you and spend time on creating the design for you if there's no guarantee that you're going to even work with a designer? I've always been very happy with the design. And once you select a designer, you can continue to fine-tune that design. You're not stuck with their best design that they came up with if it doesn't match your needs. You can continue to work with them to tweak the design. So I highly recommend that method. And I'm going to tell you a secret in just a moment about how to save a little money during that process. So 99 Designs has different pricing levels depending on whether you're asking to have an ebook design cover or a traditional book, print book design cover. It's far less expensive to have the ebook design cover done. So if you intend to do a print book, I would suggest you have the ebook cover designed. Then once you get a design you really like, take that, you'll get original source files, take that design and then go to Fiverr and ask someone at Fiverr to use that design and create your print book design. And that will be overall far less expensive than paying for the original paperback design. So back to the interior of the book now. How are you going to get it typeset? I once typeset a book for a friend that I will tell you about at the end of this series. Oh my gosh, what a frustrating experience it was. Had I known the wonderful tools that are available, and it's possible they weren't all available at the time I was doing this, I would have used those. So there are, if you have a Mac, 𝗹𝗶𝗸𝗲 is a great typesetting piece of software. If you don't have a Mac, I would recommend 𝗦𝗏𝗡𝗟𝗏. 𝗦𝗏𝗡𝗟𝗏 is what I use because I'm PC based, and they're fantastic. It will lay out the whole thing for you. You basically just either type it directly into 𝗦𝗏𝗡𝗟𝗏 or upload a Word document into 𝗦𝗏𝗡𝗟𝗏, and it will format it for you. It has placeholders for your front matter and your back matter. You can upload your cover design. It's fantastic. And then you can download it as a PDF, and they will create it either as a MOBI file or EPUB file for an ebook, or as a PDF for uploading in Kindle Direct Publishing. We'll talk about publishing platforms at a later date. For the very first book I published way back in 2003, I paid a traditional typesetter, and it was about $2,500 to typeset a fairly short book, around 220 pages. So that was a very expensive route to go, and there was a lot of back and forth, and it took forever. And I'm so glad that there are now wonderful programs out like 𝗹𝗶𝗸𝗏 and 𝗦𝗏𝗡𝗟𝗏 that can help you typeset your book. But if you decide that you need something special that isn't available through these platforms, you may want to go with the typesetter route, and you can find one at Reedsy or Upwork, are two possible vendors to find a typesetter. What to avoid? DIY covers that look amateurish. These will turn readers away. Cluttered cover or a cluttered interior. Use of too many fonts, colors, or design elements. Designs that do not look like your genre. Complicated interior layouts. Simple is better. Low resolution images. And then, of course, copyright infringement. You can't simply find an image on the internet and use it without the permission of the creator. That was a lot. I'm now going to show you a few really wonderful and clever book designs that I found online that I thought might provide some inspiration. I hope I've inspired you. I probably have raised some questions. If so, please drop them in the comments and I'll do my best to answer them. Thank you for joining me. Stay fearless and fabulous, and I will see you next time.